Now, say my name.
The Rolling Bad Podcast.
You're goddamn right.
Coming to you almost live from the Pleasure Dome in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, it's the Rolling Bad Podcast. Episode number 145. Not a gross anymore. It is April 9th, and I'm your host, Bill. Hey, Hedonites are my style. Costello, and with me,
all the way from my eternal prison in the circle of vainglory outside the Palace of Pleasure, it's Joshua, master of innuendo alt. Oh, sorry, I said innuendo, right?
Well, not exactly. No,
okay.
You didn't. No,
okay.
no.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to mark this as the Not Safe for Work podcast.
Yes.
Just due to the book we're covering.
You know, when you've got a book of this magnitude, you are just tempted to say all the right and wrong things. So it is Hedonites of Slaanesh, Path to Glory Day, folks, as foretold in the last podcast. Buckle up. Make sure your kids aren't listening, because I'm sure we're going to make a bunch of jokes.
Yes, the innuendo will fly. The double entendre will, yeah.
Yep. So,
I mean, it's probably going to be kid safe, but you might have to do more explaining than you want to do.
The thing I always loved about Hedonites is that, as a longtime, Hellraiser fan, anytime I look at this stuff, it just gives me flashes of that.
I've seen so many different Slaaneshi armies that were themed on this or that or whatever sort of branding you wanted on it, and just all of them work. It's not, and none of them are, oh, that's really dumb.
Yeah.
It's so, first of all the models are pretty much organic.
Yeah.
And so it lends itself, I think, to a lot of, whereas something like Sylvaneth, you're kind of, on the base of the sculpt, you're kind of locked into a certain framework. Yeah. Whereas with these, it's like, wow, do whatever you want. So I do want to start out with an apology. I was getting ready to edit the podcast, and my power supply on my machine decided to take a dump.
Oops.
And yeah, that was a Sunday morning, actually. And because I lost Saturday, it was a dark day. And we will not discuss. Let's just say that when you're 59, don't drink yourself to oblivion, because the next day sucks. But yeah, they were supposed to get my power supply overnighted into the Apple store, which they did. I brought it in Monday. Dude calls me up about 2 hours later and says they shipped us the wrong power supply. And I'm like, seriously, the serial number tells you exactly what model it is.
Yep.
But anyway, I didn't get it back till Friday.
Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, I immediately ripped the show out and the After Dark at the same time. But apologies for the week delay on getting the show out, because the show just dropped a couple hours ago. Do apologize.
Mediocre.
I know. And then, of course, on the other front, I may be a little punchy today because we picked up our new puppy yesterday, actually. Oh, boy. And on the drive home, he named himself.
Yep.
He became Corvus Corax, the emo puppy. He's literally, when you first pick up a puppy, an 8-week-old puppy.
Yeah.
I was sitting in the passenger side. I had a towel over all of me so that when he decided to throw up, he could.
Yeah.
That puppies do that in a car ride. No, he just sat around looking, seeing what was going on, just scanning things. He hardly ever moved. He just sat there and was like totally chill. Brought him into PetSmart to let him pick out some toys, and we had to get puppy food and all that stuff, and he was just like super chill, whatever. Oh, look, another big dog. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, you are Corvus Corax. So Corey, meet world meet Corey. Yeah,
he is stinking adorable.
Yeah.
No F's given. He is just got that look when you meet him where he's just like, oh, whatever.
And, it's that cool thing of you just know that everything he is seeing for the first time.
Yeah.
The first time a raindrop hit him yesterday, he was like, what in the hell was that? So, yeah, that youthful splendor of puppyhood, which also led to that youthful noisiness of puppies at night.
Yeah.
You don't want to sleep. Thank you, big dog. Yeah. Anyhow, I think that's kind of it for the intro, right? We're going to talk about Hedonites. And I got to say, this book is really good.
Yeah.
I don't know why I keep saying I'm shocked. I'm shocked because these third edition books have been just primo.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere where you thought they could have made a big mistake, they didn't. They fixed and made better a lot of the things. I bet some people are going to not love the depravity changes, longtime players.
It's changed up a lot.
Yeah. But I think their opponents are going to love it.
I mean, I think it's actually playing into more like one wound model scenarios. I think it's better now.
Yes.
And you know, we'll have to go through all of it because it is, when we get to the path to glory, it is just entrenched in the depravity. And so it's absolutely necessary to understand. I think this book is really fun, and sort of my precursor to when we get there is that it's like the most themey book that they've done. Like Blades of Corn is pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, the legal side of the Karajan Overlords was really good.
Yeah.
This one just, and we'll get into like the nuance of what I'm saying here, but there's so much temptation oozing from this book, just in even trying to play at a competitive level. And so like the fluff is just knitted to the bone, right? In this book. And so you got to hang tight because we have such sights to show you.
I know this is the pleasure and pain, and you'll see that in the path to glory.
Oh yeah.
All right. New Dawn. So up for pre-order this week is The Death Invasion.
Soul Blight Gravelords, SBG, Battle Tome drop, cards, the beautiful Ivia Volga, the Outcast. I love this model.
Yeah.
I really do.
That is a hot model. I mean, it is really so evocative of where they're taking Soul Blight.
Yeah, I agree. And I really like looking at the rules previews they did for her.
Mm-hmm.
She really feels like the kind of foot hero that you're going to want to splash, right? Depending on her points cost. I don't know what it is. I haven't looked at any of the previews, but she feels like the kind of hero you want to splash because she has big answers for monsters.
Yes.
She is pretty dang good in combat, considering she's a foot hero.
Yeah.
So I think she's going to be really solid. I'm looking forward to picking up one of her just because of the aesthetic. And
you want the hat.
Oh, yeah. I wish I could just buy the hat, right? I mean, I understand people can 3D print, but that hat, like, specifically looks amazing. I want to put one on a knight.
Yeah.
You know, so that way I can have my Russian knight running around with the Astra Militarum.
You betcha.
And the, it just looks so good. And I think she's going to be really potent. White King on Skeletal Steed is now alone, right?
Yes, he comes out on his own, which is really nice because a lot of people wanted him, but nothing else from.
Correct.
So, boom, here's your chance. I personally appreciate it because I want another one. So,
I mean, when you're talking about, like, if you're a long-time death player, like, you don't need any more Black Knights.
Right.
You probably have your Graveguard.
Yeah.
It's like, can I just get the one, right? And I don't want to buy this box multiple times necessarily and have multiple, White Kings on Steed. So finally he's out on his own. Obviously overshown by Ivia. So.
Oh, yeah.
The Vanguard looks pretty decent. You get a Vamp Lord,
Yes.
20 Death Rattle, 5 Blood Knights, and 3 Vargeists. Not a bad spread.
No wolves.
I mean,
it's obviously focused at a different build, but I was just like, man, they could have thrown 5 wolves in there.
Or taken 10 Death Rattle out for 10 wolves or something.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. But I mean, you get 4 different kits.
Yeah.
Blood Knights are strong. You're going to probably want a Vamp Lord unless you're running specific builds.
Right.
I think that it's a good little spread, particularly if you're just getting into it, having those skellies to just run up and keep regenning. You have some Blood Knights do work and Vargeist.
And Vargeist to just bring the heat.
Yeah. So that's the one I'm excited for because I am not a OBR player, but Bill.
Here's mine.
Here it is.
So same story at the beginning. You get the Battle Tome and the new cards. Yay. The Mortison Ossifector model. Again, this is a work on a theme. I don't think this one's groundbreaking in any way, but it's still a cool looking model. I'm really hoping the rules are awesome.
Yeah.
The Vanguard box, once again, is one of those that if you're just getting in, this is a great box because you're going to get a Soul Reaper. Who knew? 5 Cavalos Death Riders, 20 more Tech Guard, which is minimum, and a Gothazar Harvester, which Oh boy. I mean, at least in the last book, they were super good. I'm hoping that carries over into the next book, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm really excited about the stuff they've released about OBR so far.
Yeah.
In that they're getting rid of RDPs, the system that OBR used, and just flipping it over to command points.
Yep.
And the standard rule is if you have 3 units on the board, you get an extra command point. 5 units on the board, you get 2 command points, and 7 units on the board, you get 3 extra command points.
Yeah.
So literally turn 2, or, on turn 1, if you give up first turn, you could start with 5.
Yeah.
And that's bonkers good, especially since they have some of their own abilities now that are sort of very themey to the OBR. So looking forward to covering that book.
Real interesting. I think the box is pretty dang good. I mean, Mortek Guard plus Gothisar Harvester was a mainstay.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how the book is now, but that was a mainstay for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what the Soul Reaper does, if you may want multiples of that, because you could buy multiples of this box just so you can get build out your... 40 Mortek's a good place to be, 2 Harvesters and 10 Death Riders. I don't know if you need 2 Soul Reapers, but again, just another foot hero.
Exactly.
Yeah, those are going to be fun books to cover.
Yep, they sure are. I'm loving it. So in the 30K world, for all of you Horus Heresy folks, the Contemptor Dreadnought torso upgrades are coming out, which is weird. They came out on the main GW store, not the Forge World store, and they came out with the kits. So for Blood Angels, Death Guard, Iron Hands, Night Lords, Space Wolves, and World Eaters, you're basically getting, I would imagine, what amounts to an upgrade sprue with the iconography of that in addition to a Contemptor Dread. So weird.
I was looking at the kit, right? Because I was thinking about getting one. I ended up ordering the torso from Forge World because they were out of stock. So many people bought them.
Yeah.
But it's literally the Contemptor kit.
Yeah.
Plus the resin torso.
Okay, so it is the resin.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is a hybrid there. So
okay.
They didn't move it to plastic, folks. It's still in the resin, but those sculpts are so beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Those upgrades are nice.
I got in my Relic Contemptor torso piece for the Dark Angels Fallen, whatever I'm doing.
Yeah. So, and then for the Middle-earth strategy battle game, boy, a lot of new made-to-orders.
Yep.
Just super nice for those things that have gone. Just a couple of the highlights. You can get Halbarad for Gondor, and the big, I think the headline model on this one is going to be the Nazgul on Winged Steed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good. If you've got holes in your strategy battle game, Middle Earth, this is the way to fill them up.
Yep.
So definitely jump on these before that goes away. And some of these are some pretty core kits.
Yes.
Definitely the Cave Trolls.
Cave Trolls.
A lot of people were kind of lamenting the fact that they got good.
Yeah.
And they're out of print.
Yeah.
So here's your chance. So
that's one thing I like about Middle Earth is that they're so willing to do made to orders.
Yeah.
Because, it's like it's not big enough that they can move it all to plastic, but it's popular enough that they recognize that like we need to go through cycles of refreshing these prints.
Yep.
So if you're into the game, take advantage when you can. It's such a good game. It's such a good game.
Yeah, and really don't look for new sculpts from that game quite literally because of the way the licensing works.
Yes.
In order to get, it's the same boat that AMG is in with Crisis Protocol. In order to get a new sculpt for something in Middle-earth, they have to design it. And then it has to go through the Tolkien estate.
Yeah.
And then it has to go through New Line Cinema. And then all these other hoops they have to jump through. So literally like a 6-month process. It's like dealing
crazy.
with the big mouse trying to get, Marvel superheroes out the door.
Yep.
It's a pain in the butt. So, and then over in Black Library, a new book and a paperback edition. So in the new book department, you have The Last Volare. The quick blurb on this one is Nissa Volare is in an impossible predicament. Despite being an immortal vampire, her own cursed blood is killing her. She's the last of her bloodline, and an army of Sigmar zealots is out to hasten her demise. In The Last Volare by Gary Kloster. I don't know the author, but the book sounds, the teaser sounds good enough that I want to get it.
Sounds pretty good. And then up against that, I mean, it's, vampires on vampires, folks. Hollow King moving to paperback. I think it had already been released before.
Yes.
But here now, again, the little blurb. Follow the adventures of Kato Ezekiar, a soul-blind vampire who has accepted the curse and now seeks vengeance against the servants of chaos, who wiped out his family and kingdom. So, yeah, if you didn't pick it up before in hardback, or you wanted it, but you didn't want it in hardback, you want a cheaper version, here it is, folks.
This was a book that I was interested. I like their take on the vampire mystique, because it's not, they're not sparkly. They're not super, oh my God, I can just wipe away armies with a thought. They're in that middle ground of they're quite powerful on an individual basis, but they also have issues.
Yeah, I don't want to draw too many associations with it, but it kind of reminds me of vampires from the White Wolf RPG system. Where they're powerful as heck.
Yeah.
Right? But they can be killed. They can be stopped.
Yeah.
We just finished reading up the Hallowed Ground book for the book club over at the Warhammer store, and that one features Jill Morgaine the vampire.
Yep.
And the Van Dents are able to sort of fight her, toe to toe, and they're human. They have magic stuff they can use there.
Well, they're witch hunters, but
that's what happens when you're so tempted to move forward and get into the Hedonites.
I know, and that's the problem is we're waiting for breakfast. So, shall we jump into creation? Oh, a lot of creation.
Yeah, there's some creation going on here.
All right, let's jump into creation real quick, and then we'll look at taking a break.
Sounds good. You want to start?
Okay, I'll go. I didn't do all that much. I was exceedingly busy with some, work things. I got an emergency request to do a Blizzard Force the same way I did the other Blizzard Force.
Yeah.
Except there was no precursor to this. There was a box that showed up from UPS that had 2 Blizzard Force Legion boxes in it.
Yeah.
Plus some miscellaneous models, a Vader, a Bosk, and a couple of other things, but 2 of everything.
Yeah.
And inside the letter was, would you mind doing one of these and sending them back and keeping the other half? And I'm like, okay, I'm down with that. I got a free Blizzard Force. I don't really need another Vader, but it's I'll always take the chance. So I did up a Blizzard Force. I'm telling you, man, it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
So it's contrast paints have made Legion, especially this latest, now that they have the new white.
Yeah.
It's just so easy and fun to do. Finished off a bunch more mix. They're all over there on the table. And I started work on conceptualizing LVO 2024.
Uh-oh.
The narrative. Yeah, I had a crazy idea. I was driving back from work, and this idea popped into my head, and I was like, oh, I could probably run with that. And I spent the entirety of an evening just sort of going through ideas and pulling pieces together from different places and looking up some historical information that might be really cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I started work on LVO 2024. Whew.
I just had a weird idea pop into my head.
Uh-oh.
Slaanesh corrupted Sylvaneth.
Ew.
I think there's some fun to be had there.
Of course. You could kind of say that with Slaanesh corrupted XXX.
Yes.
Whatever you want. Stormcast. Okay.
Yeah, I was just thinking kind of with the kit bashing would be so cool.
The tree revenants would be bonkers fun to do.
Oh, right.
And oh yeah.
As fiends. Yeah.
And just think of what you could do with part of Durthu and part of a keeper.
Oh yeah.
Or, even one of those Slaanesh or Shloshli.
Yeah.
Those 2 confuse the crap out of me, it's Drexa and Slaanesh.
Dexessa and Sinessa.
Those 2.
Yeah. Shalaxi Hellbane is the special keeper.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but I mean, if you could somehow take you can make 2 keepers out of half a tree lord and half a keeper.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you could get kind of crazy with that.
The Revenants specifically, the little ones, I was thinking those would be cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember I can't remember his name. He did a Nurgle corrupted Sylvaneth, and they looked amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They looked amazing. It's that could be fun. I mean, Sylvaneth lends itself to kit bashing. Sorry, it just popped into my head when you're talking about conceptualizing things. I don't know why I was like, are you gonna have a board, because we're talking about Hedonites,
yeah,
right? where it's going to be like a foresty type thing that tempts people. And then I was like,
hey,
a tempting forest? Got wood? Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
You know?
got wood. Okay. Thought you could slide that one through, huh? Okay.
I told you it's not a Christian podcast today, Bill.
No, not at all. Today of all days.
Of all days.
Oh, yes. Happy Easter. So what'd you do?
So we have the Retribution Crusade in full swing over at the shop. So I've been going to town on this in what spare time I do have. So I went with, Dark Angel Successor Chapter / Hidden Fallen story stuff, right? I'll definitely be buying the Luther model when it comes out. Sorry, I mean Lionel Johnson. Luther? Anyway, I've built and painted 5 Deathwing Knights, 5 Deathwing Termies. I built and painted my custom Interrogator Chaplain, which is Kit Bash from Mogan Raw.
Yeah, yeah.
I built the Champion bike. I built a Ravenwing bike squad. I happened to get half of Dark Vengeance, which is just fantastic
nice,
for like specialized character models, I'm going to definitely build up the Psyker in there and use them. I think it's Ezekiel.
Yeah.
I built and painted a Promethean tank terrain. So
nice.
part of this is getting battle ready terrain.
Yeah, yeah.
And then doing an Arcs of Omen mission with it. So I have enough to play a like boarding patrol, right? But we have to do the Arcs of Omen mission with a piece of terrain we built and painted. I did not want to go through and build and paint an entire half of a ship again.
Sure.
For boarding patrols, because you have to do it during the event. So I went with the Promethean tanks from Necromunda. Yeah. Because I'll be able to slap those down at some point. And so I need to make another slot. So I got as I was talking about earlier, the Relic Contemptor for the Dark Angels.
Right.
Got the torso, and I already had a kit for Contemptor.
Oh,
right?
good.
So that was like when I was looking to what to do, I was like, well, I've got the Leviathan, but that's a heavy because I need 3 elites, right? And I don't want to paint more Terminators right now. Because the way I'm painting them, it's like it's all black, then you paint in the cloth and you paint in the red, and it's annoying.
Termies are time consuming, yeah.
Yeah.
So much detail.
Yeah, they really do have a ton of detail. And I'm not going to say I cut corners, but I definitely did not go to the level I normally paint at because it's just, quote, battle ready. So base shade. And then, so I'm starting to build that. And so all of it's been dedicated to this Retribution Crusade.
Yeah.
Trying to get folks who've never been to Warhammer to come in, gotta love it.
That was a great Facebook post. That went off the rails fast. Oh my God.
I mean, I've definitely got some folks who are interested in coming in. They're like actually my former assistants.
Nice.
At my previous law job.
All right.
So, yeah, I mean, they're coming together.
Nice.
They're coming together for sure. I was using the Champion bike as like my vehicle model, but since I'm doing the Contemptor, I'm just going to paint that up as it.
Oh, yeah.
And then probably still paint up the Raven Wings because there'll be might still do Chappie, but I don't know. It's I don't usually paint red, and I don't usually paint red and black. Right? So my color schemes are usually brighter.
Yeah.
Right? Mostly pinks. Right? I like fun colors. Or I speed paint a lot of things, but this is just like old school, prime and just etching everything with the base colors.
Well,
shade it.
The way this is structured, it kind of makes sense to do it that way because as you progress down the card, it's like, oh, make a battle ready unit and then start taking it to parade ready. So if you do it right off the bat, I guess he could check off all 3 boxes, but in the interest of time and getting going, it's a lot easier to do it that way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I tell you what I did for the bases for the Terminators and the Knights.
Okay.
They're on 40s, and I was like, well, if I'm going to use them in boarding patrols, what can I do? And what kind of theme do I want to have for, this army in terms of how they present? And so actually what I did is, they have all those pieces of like catwalks that come in the
in
Void War bases.
War box. Yep.
So I took the 40s and I would arrange them and glue them on there, and I put extra little details like, little like data hookups or pipes and stuff connected to them. Yep. And then like the leaders, I would set them apart. So like the Deathwing Knight leader, I took the top part of the skeleton backpack from Mogan Raw.
Oh yeah.
And just have like this dead Drukhari skeleton just like in one of the cracks between the catwalk. And then I went with a like desert kind of theme around it.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking it's like, well, I mean, it could be something that like crashed onto a planet, you know, and like the wind's blowing through. And then I could even have him like opposed or aligned depending on what I'm doing with the world eaters that I'm doing, because it's very similar.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going with that kind of a color scheme, and it's pretty fun. Like they turned out really good.
Nice.
And they say that shade is sort of like talent in a bottle. It is.
Oh,
it
God,
is
yes.
so true. So true.
Oh, my Lord, yes.
So that was a lot, but that's what my creation was this time around.
Very nice. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back with Battle and Lore and see where we get to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you join us tonight for the news at 11.
Okay, as the pretty lady just said, it's time for the news at 11. Guess who's coming to town, and it ain't Santa Claus.
Our next Chaos Primarch.
Yay!
That's right, folks. Luther and his retinue, the lion and his retinue, are being released.
Please.
So you're going to get the lion himself, that beautiful model that they've been showing with 3 Blade Guard veterans. I've already talked about this before, but it's being released. Got the really cool art prints, him going up against Angron, his sort of stoic monk looking upwards, which is also the cover of the lion.
Yeah.
Which the Arc's Bowman book is coming out with the special edition print.
Very nice looking book.
Looking beautiful. Supreme Grandmaster Azrael by himself.
Yeah.
So that way you don't have to get into that big box if you want a copy of him. I've got 3. Going to make for great basing material.
And meanwhile, Max is rejoicing because he's like, damn you, Josh.
Commander Dante, all you Blood Angels folks.
Oh my gosh.
He is Primera sized. He is here.
He is, wow.
His helmet looks as weird as ever from this angle.
Yeah.
That's not the best angle. But his model's gorgeous. He's so much bigger than he was before.
Yeah, he is so Dante.
And here, look at this. Vastor the Archifane is showing up by himself already, right? Just like Grandmaster Azrael.
I do believe they were going to be ready to do this right away.
Yeah.
Simply because that box flew away.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And, you know, this is major story focal points, right?
Yeah.
And so my understanding is the Lion and Azrael are leading the charge back towards Vastor, where the inevitable clash between brothers will occur.
Oh, that's so cool.
Right?
Okay, anyway.
And those Sanguinary Guard dice, Bill, what do you think?
Yeah, sort of Chess X, the gold marble dice with the imprints. I'm not thrilled at the price point.
Yeah, that's the big thing on those.
Yeah, you're still looking at 15 dice for probably $40.
Yeah.
38, whatever. I will get a set just because. But I have a crap ton of the different limited edition
Blood Angels dice.
But I will add these to they're okay, but
So the next thing, 2 boarding patrols come out. Boarding Patrols Leagues of Votan. This is an amazing box. I feel like this is an amazing box as like a sister box to the Combat Patrol that they have out. Because you're going to get your 5 Einhir Champion you didn't get before. You'll get 5 more Berserks, right? You'll get 10 more of your Warriors, and you'll get the Champion, right? So you get Call and Champion. If you're new into this, get 1 of each, right? And you'll have an army going.
Yep.
Pretty strong. Then Boarding Patrol Agents of the Imperium. I'm actually really excited for this one. I think it's really cool.
This is a silly, cool looking box.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all over the board. You get 10 Elucian Starstriders, 20 Imperial Navy Breachers, an Evisor Assassin. Okay, what?
Yeah.
Where is this from? I mean, I understand where it's from.
Yeah.
But it's just, this is so, wow.
There's so many cool like story consequences out of this because, you have Vayne, right? Leading her entourage, but joined by some Navy breachers, right?
Yep.
So I really like sort of the story idea of what's happening here.
Oh, yeah.
And then getting the Eversor Assassin, I thought about getting him for boarding actions because I thought he'd be just
so
nasty.
Good. Yeah.
Well,
I'll tell you what, if nothing else, buy this box for all the bits and pieces that are in it.
Oh, yeah.
You look at the hats with the plumes. You look at the different strange helmets that are all throughout this thing, the weapon options that you can see on the different models. This is going to be a kit basher's dream box.
Oh, yeah.
Because there is so much great stuff. If you explode each one of the models, I mean, they're very cool on their own, but a lot of these heads are they're going to be very useful across the board. So.
Oh, yeah. I did a lot of kit bashing with materials from this stuff for my Zombie Necromunda gang.
Yep.
So, And of course, the Elicidian Star Striders. If you didn't pick them up when they had been released,
Yeah.
this is a way to get them.
Yep.
I just love those models.
And that's an old Kill Team
Yeah.
force box from 1 or 2 editions of Kill Team ago.
Yeah, it was
So-
right around Arena.
Yeah.
So they did the Rogue Trader box, which was this versus Gellerpox.
Yep.
And then Arena hit after that.
Yeah, and
Right.
then they had this box available by itself for a little while, and I don't think it's still available. I think it gave up for this.
It may have, yeah.
So-
but that's such a cool off-kilter boarding patrol because
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not like a particular faction. You're agents of the Imperium.
Right. So cool.
And then, so they're doing some made-to-order Drukari, very specific time, 9 days between the 15th of April and 8 a.m. UK time on the 24th of April. And it could take up to 180 days to arrive. You're getting all the resin stuff for Drukari that was out of print. So your Beastmasters, Clawed Fiends, Grotesques, Mandrakes, Razorwing Flocks, Chimerae, Lamians, Medusae, Slith, Urgles, and even the Master Homunculus, Urian Rakarth. So it's a lot, right?
Yep. And we'll fill out your Jakari if you need to.
If you've been waiting on it. So looks like I've got some Horus Heresy, Bill.
Yes, we do. Look, 2, not 1, but 2 big tanks. The Cerberus Heavy Tank Destroyer, which is such a cool looking model.
it is.
I just love that one. And then, of course, the Sakaran Venator Tank Hunter. Yeah, that thing is just so over the top. Oh, my God. Lovely, lovely little model for Blood Bowl.
Love it. It's Cindy Pie Whistle and Puggy Bacon Breath.
Oh, God.
So you got your, I mean, they're all chubby, right? But you got your dude armored, I should say, halfling with a giant sandwich bouncing on the end of his finger.
It's such a cheap advertisement for Subway. I can't
is,
believe
right.
they just sold out like that.
Actually, it's Schlotsky's. That's the thing.
Schlotsky's.
So they're trying to come back. And then you got little Cindy Pie Whistle. I actually love this model. So she's here. She's got her chef's hat on. She's got her little blue dress, her giant left foot, a pie under one arm, and she's about to lob a smoking biscuit or
No, it's
pie.
a pot. It's a clay pot.
Oh, is it a clay pot?
Yeah, out of her oven mitted hand. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Once a master baker, now a star player who weaponizes her delicious wares.
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, so they're going to come from Forge World, of course, right? Black Library, well, we knew this was going to come out with the Lion. It's the Lion, Son of the Forest. They do have the Unlimited Edition.
Yes, that's
coming
beautiful.
out. This is by Mike Brooks, and I stinking love that quote. I failed my father.
Yes.
Here I also failed my brothers. I do not wish to fail my sons.
I love that new imagination of the lion. Oh,
Yeah, what's he doing now, right?
yeah.
Then we got the omnibus for the Legends of the Dark Angels, and then was it Angels of Darkness in German,
In German, yeah.
following Interrogator Chaplain Boreas. War Boss coming out in German too.
Yeah.
Also known as Orc Boss, apparently.
Yeah.
Same thing.
And a new white dwarf.
Yeah, so this one, War of Iron inside already. I love this boarding action barrier tiles.
Yep.
I'm really excited to see what that does. New arcs of Omen lore and missions, probably specifically centered around, the admin.
Oh, sure.
So that looks good. But then coming out in Warhammer Plus, we're going to get the first episode of Neve Blacktalon's show.
Yes.
Very relevant to our podcast. I'll be excited to watch that one and report back on that.
Yeah. I'm hoping they really do. I love that character.
Yeah.
Love her to death. I hope in the next Stormcast book they make her worth a damn,
Yeah.
because they never have yet, and they've costed her like she was something.
Yeah.
So I really want to play with her, but she's just too many points for what she does.
Yep.
So here's hoping.
So it's going to be a good week for Dark Angels / Fallen players. Good day for Blood Angels players.
Yes.
The reimagined Dante, who has died and now crossed the Rubicon, he is here.
Oh, so jazzed. I had my Blood Angels box out the other day, and I was looking at my old Dante, and I was like, I mean, it's good,
Yeah.
but damn, this new one is so, well, he's Primarisized. So yeah, life is good. And here's my other thing. So last time, sort of in the podcast and more in After Dark, I sort of waxed a little bit about, the price
Yeah.
of throwing away all your 9th and buying into 10th, and how that's just kind of ick.
Yeah.
And here I am like, I've already got Dante. I don't need this new model, but he's Primarisized. So yeah, I'm going to do that. So without a thought, I'm going to do that. But I get upset when, okay. How about quit being such a hypocrite, Bill? All right.
No worries. So yeah, again, that is the news at 11. So we'll move on with the rest of the show from here.
Stormcast are cool.
Okay, we're going to start off battle with, go figure, the April 2023 battle scroll dropped with some pretty bonkers changes.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Depleted Reserves, April 2023. I'll take the first one, you take the second one.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so in the very basic game changes, in the hero phase, the command ability Rally has been changed. Add the following text to the end of the rule. You can only return models to the unit that have a combined wound characteristic of 10 or less. For example, if the unit you received the command has a wounds characteristic of 2, you can bring a maximum of 5 models back. Interesting change. I wasn't aware this was being that abused.
I think it's a major issue for any of those armies that have the ability to rally on a 4-up. And I think the one it's sort of like getting at is Gloomspite Gits, right?
Okay, yeah.
Gits are like, before what was happening, you could, if you had the squigs, if you did it right, you could rally a ton of them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Even if you just had a bunch of, little mooks with, their shields and spears that just die. Well, their bravery is under the light of the bad moon, so they're fine. Oh, and I returned 30 guys total to 3 different units, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's good.
Yeah, it's probably a good change. The other thing I'm thinking of too is when you look at the 2 books coming out.
Oh yeah.
And potentially even Seraphon, but OBR and Soulblight both have really cheap mooks that are probably going to have really interesting rally rules, skeletons, okay, makes sense.
I mean, they already have like a resurrect sort of type thing, but then being able to rally them too, I think that's going to be important to just make sure they don't.
Might be excessive.
Yeah.
Especially with the way you're just going to be throwing command points around the board as an OBR player. So
I'll tell you, the new Slaanesh probably loves SBG. If you can just go shred through a bunch of zombies, then start coming back, and you're like, yes, to depravity.
Yes, just give it to me now.
Give it to me any which way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Rally, big change. I think it's a decent change. I think it just sort of stops the sort of runaway mechanic.
Yeah.
Because if you roll hot on a 4-up, like, oh my God.
You could be bringing tons back, yeah. But now it's limited to 10 wounds.
So not too bad. I do think it hits bigger models a little bit too, right? So it's really starting to limit like Stormcast, right? You take a brick of 10, they all have 2 wounds each, and like hypothetically it's going to limit the amount that they can actually rally. So not a bad change. I like to see how it plays out. Then Arcane Tome. Wow, this is big. I mean, this changes a lot of list building for a lot of people. Yep.
So, and I'm not saying it's bad. I think it's really good. Go ahead.
I agree too. Because it was abused a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, like I remember thinking when I was playing my BCR and I would priest wizard.
Yeah.
The Frost Lord and the Stonehorn, and just like he was a mobile death machine.
I think this one was kind of almost an auto take in a great many armies.
It has been, right?
Yep.
And so the change is so it has to be a hero that does not have the wizard, priest, or corn keyword, right?
Yep.
I like that they actually put corn in there, because it's just different,
Mm-hmm.
They're a completely different army, so opposed to magic. The bearer becomes a wizard that only knows the arcane bolt and mystic shield spells. If you take a spell lore enhancement, you cannot pick any spells from that spell lore for the bearer to know, but the bearer can attempt to summon any endless spells included on your roster. They can attempt to cast 1 spell in your hero phase and attempt to unbind 1 spell in the enemy hero phase.
Right.
And you remember Amulet of Destiny back when it was a 5-up ward, right? And it was just literally everywhere. Every Gargan player, that's how they started just running away with things.
Sure.
They're like, now it's a 6+, and you don't see the Amulet of Destiny hardly anywhere.
Right.
This is a similar thing because Arcane Tome, that was always the discussion, when you watch the competitive players, right? Do you take this over Arcane Tome? Well,
yeah,
you might now.
It was the bellwether.
Yeah.
I mean, now the best part here is getting rid of the priests because that was getting really, really silly.
Yeah.
So the same priest that was buffing up your units was now also throwing a Mystic Shield on it. So you were getting the best of everything. And I kind of like it. It's a good change. It's a really good change.
It is. And that way it just gets people out of that same mindset of like, no, I need to take, the Arcane Tome. Well, now you have options. Play around with it a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, and it still remains very viable for those units, you know, for those armies that don't have a lot of access to magic. Boom, you can pick a foot hero now and you get a wizard. You can play in the magic game. Whereas before, I think it was such a wombo combo with so many things that it was silly. So yeah, much better now. So moving on, Cruel Boys got some much needed love.
Right.
So under Auric War Clans, Cruel Boys changed the first sentence of Dirty Tricks Battle Trait to: after the players have received their starting command points, but before the start of their first turn, you can pick 2 different dirty tricks to employ during the battle. Okay.
Good.
That is going to be really good for Cruel Boys. That's a very broad, that is a very sweeping change to how they work.
Yeah.
And I think it's needed. So, okay, when I say I think it's needed, if you look at the MetaWatch article, and Cruel Boys is still the seller of AOS, which is so odd because as new stuff goes, usually it's overpowered.
Yeah.
And we all looked at that poison mechanic that they had and said, oh, these guys are going to rip through tables. And no, not really.
Well, I mean, they just didn't have the defensive capabilities to be able to utilize the poison, you know? And they did that cool thing when it's still in the battle scroll here, but the Swamp Kala and Pakrat, where they took away the choose a spell or poison issue. It's like you get a poison and you get a spell.
Right.
So I'm glad that they were changing that up. The Grin and Blades mechanic, where they're literally just not visible outside 12 inches.
Yep.
Great. Okay. It's just that they just didn't have enough defensive capability, and they couldn't play their tricks as well.
Yeah.
Gut Rippas, they changed up the scare tactics ability to now you just straight up subtract 1 from hit rolls from anything that's not a hero or monster.
Yeah, that one just changes flat out.
Because before it was like against bravery, you know, like you had to roll and then you might get it and you might not.
Yeah, it was another one of those, you get the ability to roll a die to see if you get your ability.
Yeah.
Which sucked. Now it's just flat out subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by enemy units that are not heroes or monsters that target this unit. It gives them the ability to get stuck into a fight and survive a turn. Because the funniest thing in the world is to watch a unit of Daughters of Cain just absolutely blow through the Cruel Boys mooks.
Oh, yeah.
With abandon and just not even worry about the return, if there was one.
Yeah, I mean, you have these guys that they look imposing. They're really cool sculpts. They really are. I love all their monsters, right? Except for Dobby. I think that should be a Gloomspite Gets model. But all of them are awesome, you know? And even the Gut Rippas look super cool. 2 wounds, but like, they have like a 5-up save or something. Like, they melt to anything that gets in there with no limitation, right?
Right.
And so, I mean, hopefully that helps a bit. We'll have to see.
Yep. So now some big points changes that came out of this war scroll, just going to hit the really big ones. So in the Slaves to Darkness book, rejoice because everything went, well, not everything, but all the changes are downward. Chaos Knights and Warriors dropped 10 each. Chaos Lord on Karkadrak dropped 20. Demon Prince dropped 25.
Down to 170.
Yeah, they obviously realized that he's very vulnerable.
Yep.
Eternus, Blade of the First Prince, dropped 25. Woo. And Ogroid Therodons dropped 20. That's like huge.
Those are huge points drops.
Changes for STDs.
Yep.
And we did that book not too long ago, and that was a very strong army.
Yeah.
And I did not realize how much the points really did hurt them.
Oh, yeah.
But again, it was brand new out the box, and they tend to overcost things just in case it gets out of hand. So some other notable drops in the Gloomspite Gets, the Loon Boss on Mangler Squig dropped 30. 30.
I like that, but there is also Scragrot went up 50 points to 210.
And well deserved. I mean, come on. He was
He's like an auto take in that army.
He was a joke at 160. It was like, buy it and just don't buy it, paint it. That's it. It's your army. It's the start of your army.
Don't even think about it. Like the 12-inch aura of Into Bad Moon. Like, oh God, his spells are good.
Yeah.
Like he's just ridiculous. So yeah, that feels about right. I'm happy to see the Manglers drop because the squigs are just the funnest.
Yes.
Gobapalooza going up, that makes sense to me.
Yep.
Squig herd going up, that makes sense to me.
Yes.
Because those squig herds had like real runaway mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if you didn't reinforce them, like a couple of them die, battle shock hits, and they just run away and cause mortals. Like holy crap, those are some nasty boys. So that makes a lot of sense to me.
Over on the Lumineth side, some interesting point changes here. The Huracan and Severeth went down 10 and 20 respectively.
Yep.
Teclis goes up 20 to 720, which I'm not
Should be more.
sure if that's a impactful change, but I mean, it's 20 points and it might do something.
Yeah.
So other than that, everything just went up or down by 10. Everybody else just pretty much, the Night Haunt got some increases to Hex Wraiths and Dread Scythe Harridans. Harridans, it's about time they went up a little bit. I'm thinking that plus 10 wasn't enough, but okay. So that's the battle scroll. And yeah, it's quite interesting changes, some very basic changes to the game with the rally and the Arcane Tome.
Yeah.
And then some very interesting point changes, I think, to address some ongoing issues.
The Beasts of Chaos where Doombull and Bulgors went up and the Bestigors went down.
Yeah.
Kind of thought that was foretold. I still think Bestigors are too expensive. I'd probably like to see them down around 180 to take them. But it made sense for me when the Bulgors and Doombull went up because those are powerhouse units.
Yeah.
That have a mechanic that literally lets them operate outside of turn order.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
that had to be addressed. So yeah, new battle scroll. I'm excited to see what this does.
Yeah. As always.
And how things are going to happen in the world of not so many arcane tomes running around. And we just forgot to say Tzeentch got hit pretty hard. Points increases.
Oh, yeah. Across the board.
Yeah, so they need to be reined in a little bit. Because if you want to talk about casting magic without a bandit, right?
Yepper.
It's those boys. So,
All right. So for actual games on the table.
so for me, I didn't get anything in the last couple weeks. Mostly focusing on painting and building.
Yeah.
So nothing for me. Won't.
Yeah.
But tune in later because I have to play games for the Retribution Crusade. So you
Yeah.
bet your bottom dollar I'll be doing it. What'd you do, Bill?
I got a game in. Well, okay, to call it a game. Yeah. I got my butt handed to me in a flip game again where I took Stormcast and he took Daughter's Cane.
Yeah.
Turn 1 started off about as normal as you could imagine. Top of turn 2, which was his, pretty normal. Nothing too outlandish. Bottom of 2, the literal bottom dropped out of the game. From that point on, I could not roll a die to save my life. I think from that point on in the rest of the game, throughout the game, I maybe saw half a dozen 6s playing Stormcast. So rolling some dice.
Yeah.
And it was just at a certain point, Denny was like, here, use my dice. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. These are fate cubes.
Yeah.
They're just squares. It's not. And it's the same dice I always use. It was just a bad night. At one point, I picked up 8 dice, rolled all 2s. Every single one of them was a 2. And Denny was like, I got to get a picture of that. I mean, that's so command point reroll, boom, pick them all up. I think I got 1 hit out of that roll. I think I got 1 5, and then everything else was 3s and 2s and 1s. So yeah, that was indicative of how the game went from that point on. It was just a slaughter fest and not me doing any of the slaughtering. So it was actually at a point it got funny.
Yeah.
Because he would be sticking units in where they had no business going just to see what would happen. And if I could maybe kill some witch elves.
Yeah.
And no, I couldn't.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was so sad. And it was to the point to where when I got home, let me see, when was that? I got home Friday afternoon-ish. Yeah, because then we went to the party. I literally got my dice bag out, came in here, the table was still cleared off, rolled the dice, and normal. It was a totally normal split of dice that you could imagine coming out. So It was literally, I was destined to lose that game. So it was funny. It was, it was just between, we're friends. It didn't matter. So
Sounds like the kind of game where if you're going up against the Hedonites of Slaanesh, you might be tempted to take a 6.
oh, I would have been tempted to take all those. Here, you want your depravity? Here, take them.
Yeah, just take all the depravity.
I would have taken a 3. Probably would have taken a 3. Oh my God. I'm hitting on 3s, wounded on 3s, rolling 2s. Oh my gosh. So yeah, anyway. All right. So now we're going to take another break, even though you're not aware of the breaks we're taking, but we are taking another break because we're going to go get some food. Then we're going to jump right into the Hedonites of, probably shouldn't have said it that way. We are going to we are going to explore. Okay, there's no good way to say we're going into Slaanesh.
And Slaanesh might be going a little into us.
Oh.
Stormcaster, cool.
Okay, we are fed. We have indulged. We have indulged almost to excess.
Ah, yes. Well, you do need to pass through the circle of gluttony to get the palace of pleasure. So.
Here comes the palace gate. So, Josh, you want to start us off? I know this is definitely more your alley than mine.
Oh, yeah. I just even like the sensation of touching the book, as we're about to talk about it, right? For some reason, these pages feel smoother than other pages. I don't know what it is.
Oh, God.
The Hedonites of Slaanesh. Just to give the shout out, they also have the building your army section before you get into the rules. And just groundwork on this, just like Corn, we're going to talk about the faction rules, right?
Yep.
Because a lot of that relates directly to how this path to glory operates.
Oh, yeah. You need
depravity.
to know this.
Yeah.
Yep.
You need to know how to get depravity. You need to know how to keep depravity because, believe you me, you will be tempted.
And how to spend it.
Yeah.
Because
you will be tempted.
Like everything else, it's a double-edged sword in this book.
Right? Do you keep the excess or do you use it to get something more? Oh, goodness. It screams, right?
Quit petting the book.
But it calls to me. So battle traits. So you're going to have your 3 different hosts of Slaanesh: invaders, pretenders, god seekers. God seekers are the super fast ones.
Yep.
The pretenders are the ones where you can have like multiple generals, right? Super fun. Invaders are, I don't really care.
Wow.
But the cool thing about this one is interesting is that since there's only 3, right? They have their individual warlord traits,
Right.
relics, and spell lores.
Yes, they're really broken out. So whatever path you decide to go down, you're going to have fun. And it's going to be a little bit easier because your choices are more limited. So
there's just
cool.
a few call outs from like the enhancements that I like to get to. Like there's one spell that I read and I was like, what?
Yeah.
So we'll have some fun with that. So the temptations of Slaanesh.
Oh God, this is so bonkers.
So new rule altogether, right? At the start of each battle round, after determining who will take the first turn, you gain a pool of 6 dice. These are your temptation dice. Each time your opponent makes a failed hit roll, a failed wound roll, or a failed save roll, you can offer them a temptation dice. If they accept your offer, that roll is replaced with a 6. Rolls replaced in this way cannot be rolled or modified.
Oh,
so lovely. But each time your opponent accepts your offer of a temptation dice, you gain D6 depravity points. Each time your opponent rejects your offer of a temptation dice, the unit for which the roll was made suffers D3 mortal wounds after all of its attacks have been resolved. And you cannot offer your opponent temptation dice from the same enemy unit more than once per phase. At the end of the battle round, any temptation dice that have not been offered are lost.
That is so messed up. Because literally, if you don't take the die, you're going to take 3 mortal wounds. If you take the die, yay, you get a 6, but he could potentially get 6 more depravity. That's so messed up. I hate Slaanesh.
This is bonkers, right? This is absolutely bonkers. And I don't know what the play is. Like, that's a really tough play, when you just like, oh, I see that you failed that save roll.
Would you like to pass?
Would you like to pass? If you don't pass, you take D3 mortals. If you do take it,
oh my God.
I get D6 depravity.
That is so
6 per battle round, right? So, I mean, math it out, right? You could hypothetically, if you rolled hot and they took your temptation dice every time, get 36 depravity a turn from that.
And on the flip side, all they got was a 6.
Yeah.
So pretty much guaranteed a hit. maybe an exploding hit. And the best part is you can offer. You're not forced to offer or, it has to happen. You can pick and choose. So this is just so brutal. Brutal.
Right. All right, go ahead and roll your hit rolls. Hold on for a second. Are you tempted? Right? It's a really cool mechanic. Again, I said it earlier in the show. This is very themey.
Yes.
The temptation part of it is real interesting because that 6 could be huge for them, right? But you get something in return. Or if they're like, well, I don't want to take the 6 because blah, 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 D3 mortals, right?
Yeah.
Like it is something where the tempter wins no matter what, so to speak, right? I think it's going to be how that's played. I think will be determinative of how well someone does with this army.
And it really is a double-edged sword because, you're not, as the Slaanesh player, you're not forced to offer the die. But when you do, you have to be aware of any exploding 6s or, anything that just pops on a 6 that you really might not want. And then you just don't offer that die. And there's no penalty here for not using all your dice, which I think is good because there's certain, like if you're going up against certain armies, you're not going to want to offer up a lot of these.
No, not at all.
So it might be a great, now if you're going up against, lots of Cruel Boys, Gloomspite and all that stuff, an individual 6 probably isn't going to be that much of a deal.
Yeah.
So hand them over like candy and just grab that depravity.
Yep.
Oh, so cool. Anyway, moving on.
Just a quick touch on this one. Legions of Chaos, it's the coalition stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So blah, blah, blah. We already know what that does.
Same as we heard last week. It's coalitions.
So here's the big change on depravity. Because remember before, it was whenever you did a wound, a mortal wound, and it didn't kill a model, you would stack depravity. That's why you'd want to take at least 2 wound models, right? That's why you like having your monsters there because you get all the depravity from when they're not dying, right? But it's changed now. So you don't just have that as a passive trait. So you have the temptation dice that help you gain depravity.
Yep.
And then you have euphoric killers. So once per turn, at the start of your combat phase, you can pick 1 friendly Hedonites of Slaanesh unit and 1 enemy unit with 1 inch of that unit. If you do so, until the end of that phase, you gain 1 depravity point for each wound and mortal wound caused by attacks made by that friendly unit that are allocated to that enemy unit. So it doesn't matter if they're 1 wound models now.
Yep.
Right? They send a wave of rats at you, and you mince them all, and you're like, great, I'm at 60 depravity now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's 1 unit. I mean, that's the big balancing act right there is 1 unit. Thank you. Because literally you never wanted to play Stormcast into Slaanesh because you were just growing his army exponentially every turn.
And that was sort of the thing is that they weren't Slaanesh wasn't really that strong. And so you would sort of win by maxing depravity and summoning a bunch of units. Right. But if you look at it here, it's start of your combat phase, right? So it's literally just once every 2 rounds, you're going to get the chance to do this, right? So that's why your temptation dice are so important.
Yep.
So,
and again, you can pick. You don't have to.
Yeah.
If you're in that wrong situation, if the turn's not playing out the way you want it, you don't have to.
Yep.
And okay, great.
So, what do you do with depravity? Well,
what do you do with depravity, Josh?
People are like, well, you summon demons, right? Well, let's get to that in a second. So, similar to the blood tithe mechanic, right? As you build up blood tithe, you can get you can spend them and get additional things, right? Depravity, if you bank it, right? If you hoard it, right? If you use your greed to contain it,
this is so cool.
You get new abilities that are army wide, right?
Oh God, this is so broken.
So it starts at 12 plus, which is tantalizing torment. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target friendly Hedonites of Slaanesh units. That's a good defensive buff just to have.
So yeah, this is just okay. I have 12 depravity, which is actually pretty easy to get on turn 1.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden, you're subtracting 1s. Okay.
Yep. That's solid. And we know that they're sort of glass cannony as an army.
Sure.
Right?
But that helps a lot.
It does.
A lot.
It does.
You're never going to want to go below 12 depravity. Just take it from me, hit that threshold, and then start spending.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you want to spend yet because 24 plus is pretty good, Bill.
Oh, God.
That's the temptation of it, right? It's drawing you in. It's sadistic spite. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a melee weapon by a friendly Hedonites Slaanesh unit is a 6, that attack causes 1 mortal wound to the target in addition to any damage.
Okay, so my new rule is once you've hit 24, then you're going to see a theme here, folks. Okay.
But wait, there's more.
What?
At 36 plus, you get Oblivious Indulgence. Friendly Hedonites of Slaanesh units have a ward of 5 plus.
Okay, so once you have 36 depravity, that's when you start spending. Okay, and these are cumulative.
Yep.
So if you're at 36, you're getting all of this.
Yep.
And that takes your army from that glass cannon kind of thing. And honestly, we're going to get to it here in a little bit, but there's play style just using this right here and building up that depravity until you have a very Vegematic army.
Oh, yeah.
So,
and now that, because you can hit, you can slice and dice, but you
Sure.
just die to a stiff breeze.
Right.
So if you become depraved enough, right, quickly enough, then you're going to have a significant amount of defensive buffs and a 24 plus. Being able to do mortal wounds in addition, right? That's going to be real powerful.
You're going to be able to play objectives, stick on objectives, and really punish people that have this belief that you're just, like you said, die to a stiff breeze, because you don't anymore. But what else can you use depravity for?
Well, as we talked about earlier, you can summon Slaanesh demons.
Oh, no way.
And so it starts at 18, goes up to 36. 18 is what's going to get you demonettes with 10 models. It's going to get you a vice leader. You just your normal little herald on foot, right? Infernal and Rapturous. But then 24, you're looking at Chariots of Slaanesh, Seekers with 5 models, Contorted Epitome. At 30, you get Bladebringer or a Fiend unit with 3 models. And at 36, you get the big bad, his or herself, the Keeper of Secrets.
Oh, my. So you can give up all your army-wide buffs and just get another Keeper of Secrets. And trust me, if you're playing Slaanesh, and if you have been, you have more than one of these in your... Yeah, that's really... But do I give up all of these army benefits for a keeper? Oh, God, I hate this. I hate these choices.
Not only you have mechanics to tempt your opponent, you are being tempted the entire time yourself.
That's what I mean. It's a double-edged sword. It's everybody hates Slaanesh, including Slaanesh. So...
And love to be hated. So... So then you get into the, invaders, their battle traits. Yep. So I'll go through the battle traits, not so much the enhancements, except for the Pavane of Slaanesh is broke. So invader battle traits, all friendly invaders heroes are treated as generals, even if they're not the model picked to be your general.
Yep.
In addition, roll a dice each time you pick a friendly invader's hero to carry out a heroic action. On a 2+, you pick one other eligible invader's hero on the battle to also carry out that heroic action. My apologies. Invaders is what I thought pretenders were. Sorry.
Right.
Pretenders are the ones who are acting like Slaanesh.
Right. Invaders are so cool if you just love that whole idea of, well, everybody's a general.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, that gives you bigger auras. It's bonkers good.
Escalating Havoc. This is a heroic action that you can carry out with one friendly invader's hero instead of picking one from the table in the core rules. If you do so, pick one eligible command trait from the list below that invader's hero does not already have. That hero is considered to have that command trait until the end of the turn.
Okay. Is that you said that was a heroic action, so I can do that every turn?
Yep.
That's broken. This book is dumb.
So you can best of the best, which is adding one to your attack characteristic. If you're within 6 of a hero, you'd be the Glory Hog. If in the combat phase, if any enemy units were destroyed in that phase and this general is on the battlefield, you get additional command point. And then Hurler of Ascenities at the start of the command phase, pick one enemy unit within 6 inches until the end of that phase. Add 1 hit rolls for attacks made by that unit, but subtract 1 from save rolls. So you could have the 12+, right? Yeah. Subtract 1 from your hits. I'm not too worried about you, though, so I'm going to hurl insults, and so you get your +1, so that balances out.
Yep.
But you're -1 save.
So just because you have a potty mouth.
Yep.
Wow. Oh, this book is dumb. All right. What's wrong with Pavane of Slaanesh?
So the only thing about it that's kind of rough is the range. But it has a casting value of 6 and a range of 12. Successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within range, invisible to caster, and roll a number of dice equal to that unit's movement characteristic. For each 5+, subtract 1 inch from that unit's movement characteristic to a minimum of 1 for the rest of the battle.
Wait a minute. Oh, no, wait. What? No, cover that again?
Yep. So you roll dice equal to their move. Every 5+, you subtract 1 inch from their movement for the rest of the battle.
So you're telling my Huracan units, my dragons for Stormcast, you're with my 14-inch move, I'm gonna roll 14. You're gonna roll 14 dice, and on every 5 up, I lose that many.
Yep.
You're dumb. Now I can see that as a rule is contentious at best.
Yeah.
Because that's one of those rules that's like, you don't get to play with your toys, but I do get to play with mine.
Yep.
And I can almost see that one is getting a FAQ soon, just because that's not how they. I think it's funny how that slipped into the game, because it's another one of those things where they've tried to get away from that. I take your toys away, but mine are good.
Yep.
And they've tried to stay away from that this whole edition, and then here it is in print. So who knows?
Yeah, that one's pretty potent. And that's one of those ones, like if it says for the rest of the battle, I thought it was going to be like until your next hero phase or something like
rest of
that.
the battle.
Yeah.
So what happens if you have a 4-inch move unit and you roll well and you reduce them to 0? Are they immobile?
No, you can a minimum of 1.
Okay.
Yeah. So practically immobile.
Yeah. Virtually.
Oh boy. So pretenders, their battle traits heir to the throne. If the model picked to be your general is a pretender's hero, you receive 3 command points instead of 1. If they're at the battlefield at the start of the hero phase. Woo! That's really good.
Oh, but the next one's better.
Why should I get 3 command points? What's it going to do for me?
What's that? Oh,
Well, if the model picked to be your general is a pretender's hero, they can issue the same command up to 3 times in the same phase. If it does so, each command must be received by a friendly pretender's unit. No command points are spent the second and third times your general issues that command in that phase, so you get to spend with more abandon, right? This phase, boom, I'm going to have, all-out attack on all these, I'm going to be able to make it so they're, insane bravery or whatever, right?
Yep.
Auto pass morale. So,
this one's going to, I can just, there's so many uses for this.
yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Triple rally. Another good reason not to have unlimited rally.
Right.
But even just triple all out attack would be nice. I'm digging it.
There's a really interesting one in here that, it's super techy. So one of the artifacts of power is the Breath Taker. Pick one of the barrier's melee weapons. If any model is slain by an attack made with that weapon, all effects that would be triggered when that model is slain are ignored.
Oh, does that mean Robotic Element doesn't come back? Sorry. How many effects are going to be triggered on slain other than the Blades of Corn that will attack back after they're killed?
Well, that specifically is a big one, right?
There's also the Stormcast aggressors that have it. But is there any other big major effect?
Well, Stormcast generally, when they explode.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's true. That
So
stops.
none of them explode. Anything that explodes on death, right?
Yep.
Anything that fights on death.
Right. Stops.
So it's just really potent.
It is. I like that.
The only spell that I thought from the lore was any good is Born of Damnation. Casting value of 6, roll 6 dice. Each 4 up, you get a depravity point. Just sort of keep powering it. Godseekers, if you like building those horrendous chariots, they are the worst model that GW makes in terms of assembly. I literally bled making my first one. I hate them so much.
Okay.
Thundering Cavalcade, you can reroll charge rolls for friendly Godseeker units while they're wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Godseeker's hero. Okay, makes sense.
That's a big bubble. I like
That
it.
is big bubble. Then you have Maniacal Hunters at the start of each battle round. Before the players receive their starting command points, you can move up to D3 friendly Godseeker units that are more than 3 inches from all enemy units up to D6 inches. Those units must finish the move more than 3 inches from all enemy units. So it's just sort of like a little D6 bump.
It's a nudge. Yeah.
I don't like the D3 then D6.
Yeah, that's kind of, just make it like corn. Just move. Okay.
So then into the fray, the strike first effect applies to this general if they made a charge move in the same turn. That's good for getting your, double tap on your fights, which I really like.
So
then there is a really interesting one. This is the one I was looking for. That's flavorful. Slothful Stupor is a spell that has a casting value of 7 and a range of 12 inches. If successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within range of visible to caster. Until your next hero phase, the move characteristic of that unit is 3 inches, and all run-in charge rolls for that unit are treated as being 3.
Oh, that is so dumb.
They have a lot of control tricks.
And you know what's funny is I have that exact effect on a card that you can buy in the narrative. They stole my... Okay, that's it. I'm suing.
I know, with that LVO.
I know. What the hell? They got my cards. They looked at... Okay.
Yeah.
So it's Path to Glory time.
Oh, boy. Not terribly complicated, all right? It's not super in-depth. The big thing are going to be your surrender to impulse and obsession of excess. Otherwise, it's just kind of standard stuff.
It really is a very standard, with the exception of these 2 rolls, And what I like is these are annotated on the table easily.
Oh, yeah.
So you just need a bunch of dice of a completely different color, which
Yep.
I'm sure we all have. So
I love this stuff. So surrender to impulse.
this is so bonkers.
Enemy units can gain an impulse dice that can be spent during a Path to Glory battle. At the end of the charge phase, enemy units that are within 3 inches of any friendly Hedonites or Slaanesh units and that do not already have an impulse dice beside them gain an impulse dice. It's a d6. Impulse dice must be placed next to the enemy unit with one facing up. A unit cannot have more than one impulse dice beside it at any given time.
That makes sense. Yeah.
At the end of the charge phase, if an enemy unit already has an impulse dice beside it, increase the value of that dice by 1 to a maximum of 6 for each friendly Hedonites or Slaanesh unit within 3 inches of that enemy unit.
Wait a minute. For each?
For each.
Oh, that's bonkers.
Yeah. So again, you're trying to draw them in, right? At the end of each turn, after the battle shock phase, you gain 1 depravity point for each enemy unit on the battlefield that has an impulse dice beside it. So not the number on the dice.
Wait a minute. You just hand these out like candy and then you get depravity for them.
Yep.
That is bull. That is bull.
Yep.
Is there more?
Oh, yeah. Once per battle at the start of the combat phase, your opponent can choose for one of their units that has an impulse dice beside it to surrender it. Once per battle.
Yes.
Right? If they do so, add the value of the impulse dice beside the unit to the attack characteristic of the unit's melee weapons, excluding those of the mount, until the end of that phase. Then remove the dice. In addition, you gain a number of depravity points equal to the value of that impulse dice. At the end of the battle, each enemy unit that has an impulse dice beside it is said to have resisted the temptations of Slaanesh and gains a number of renown points equal to the value of that dice.
Oh my God, that is so bonkers. So if you just sit on all those impulse dice, you are going to mop up renown points, but you're handing over that many depravity points every turn.
Yep.
And it's just, I love that mechanic, just how broken it is. But at any point, it's literally not, these things are automatic. It's not like I can pick and choose what units get them. Boom. If you're there within 3 inches at the end of the charge phase, you get a die. And you get a die. And you get a die. Okay, cool. And then I get depravity for that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, I am sitting on that. And if I have a unit that's just bonkers good with attacks,
Yeah.
and I decide to spend that thing when it's a 6, okay, sure. You get 6 depravity, but I may very well have deleted your keeper
Yeah.
with it. But it's just it's super easy on the table. It's literally just a die that goes with the unit. Easy peasy. And the little mini game that you're going to be playing with each other about, do I use it? Do I hold on to it? Because, I could take my leader up 6 renown.
Yep.
Oh, gosh. That is so.
During each battle round, you're like, do you need a 6?
And that's just what's so bonkers is I know one Slaanesh player who is going to take this and just have so much fun during the narrative over there at Nova. Oh, Paul, I cannot wait to play you out there.
So already we talked about how themey they were, right?
Yeah.
About how this feels like Slaanesh, the temptation, the sort of like building up the depravity, and like hoarding it. But then like, if I spend it, then I can get something that lets me get more depravity.
Yep.
Then I lose buffs. Like it's always this ongoing dance in your mind of,
Yes.
do I give in? Do I hold? Like it is excess in every sense, right?
I do love that. It's so bonkers good.
And if given enough time, you will get an obsession for the excess, which is, by the way, something that your general gets in Path to Glory.
Oh my God.
It's an obsession of excess. And so you can pick one of the following obsessions of excess and give it to the model picked to be your general. If that model is slain, its obsession of excess cannot be indulged. This is like a super veteran ability, right?
Yeah.
And it's based purely off depravity, right? You need to sink once per battle 36 depravity to indulge the obsession, right?
Oh, I didn't read that.
Yep. Each one, if you read it, if you have 36 or more depravity points, you can say your general will indulge their obsession. If you do so, your depravity points are reset to 0. And then you get some sort of effect.
Oh
right?
my gosh.
So, and then if you look at it, each one of these has to deal with the Palace of Slaanesh and the 6 rings, 6 circles.
Yes, it is.
So the obsession of avidity, you give up your 36, but if you do so, the strike first effect applies to friendly Hedonite Slaanesh units in the following combat phase.
Okay, save that one for Dotto's Kane games. I'm just saying. Just saying.
That one's in the charge phase. Obsession of Gluttony, this is in your hero phase. If you give up, oh wow, that's really good. But sorry, I forgot to read that one. If you give it up, right, the number of depravity points you need to summon each unit from the summoned demons is halved for the rest of the battle.
Okay, so literally an 18-point keeper of secrets. That's stupid.
That's dumb.
That's a great way to spend 36 depravity.
The Obsession of Carnality and Bill, you take care of this at post. If you give up 36 depravity, get a handy under the table.
That's staying in. Okay. That's staying in.
All right. So this one, it's in the hero phase. Rest of the battle. Friendly Hedonites and Slaanesh units cannot be picked as the target of shooting or combat attacks by more than one enemy unit per phase.
That is Keeper of Secrets insurance, basically.
Yep.
It is. That is such a great... Just imagine the standard, typical Lumineth player with the blocks of Sentinels that are just there. Okay, bring out your Keeper. I don't care. I'm going to knock it down. Yeah, no, not really.
Not really. Because you can only shoot it once.
Yeah.
And I'm so depraved, I have a 4-up board. Sorry. Or 5-up board.
Yeah, go figure.
Obsession of Paramountcy. Start of the hero phase, you give up your 36. Rest of the battle, friendly Hedonites and Slaanesh units can issue commands without spending command points.
Wait. I'm sorry, what?
Yep.
Friendly Hedonites of Slaanesh units can issue commands without command points being spent. So, quite literally, you're just blowing the doors open on the game.
Yep.
That is bonkers good. That's what you spend your 36 on.
They're all really good, right?
I know. God.
Vainglory. Dump all your depravity in the start of the hero phase. If you do so, friendly Hedonites and Slaanesh units are treated as being as affected by their finest hour heroic action for the rest of the battle. All your heroes.
Wait, all the heroes always have
their finest hour.
This book is broken.
And then the last one is the Obsession of Indolency. Again, give up all your depravity at the start of the hero phase. Rest of the battle, friendly Hedonites and Slaanesh units are eligible to fight in the combat phase if they are within 6 inches of any enemy units instead of 3, and they can move an extra 3 inches when they pile in, so you don't even need to charge anymore. You just zombie pile in for the rest of the game.
Honestly, I'm not thrilled about that one. The things you're going to want to do as a Slaanesh army, I don't think that plays in all that well when there's just so many better ones on this list.
Well, I think that there is literally an obsession for all the different possible play styles with this book. Right. There are 6, number of Slaanesh, right? And each one has to do with the circles of the palace, right? I think it's amazing that they have such varied things. It's not a cheap cost in the sense it costs so much depravity, but with the addition of the impulse dice, right? Yeah. You're going to start racking up that depravity pretty quick.
Yeah, don't worry about the fact that the instant free depravity went away. You are still going to be getting scads of depravity. I don't think it's going to be at the level that it used to be, but you're still going to get bunches. And again, another caveat to playing this path to glory, it says if you have 36 or more and then reset to 0, don't be sitting there at 48 or 60 and do one of these things, because you just lost for nothing everything over 36. Correct. So spend those things like candy if you're going down that road of wanting to do one of those indulgences of excess or obsessions of excess. So yeah, definitely watch your totals. And yes, you want to be hitting, the mark numbers on the other table, but you have to look at those obsessions and know that if you pick one of them, it resets you to 0.
Yep.
So do that the first time you hit 36 and then build up again.
Yeah, it's one of those things you got to balance out, right? Don't get too greedy, right? And just sit on it. I think it was avidity, right? Well, give into avidity.
And that's the thing is you have to look at, let's say you are at 48. Make sure you spend some, if you want to pop one of those obsessions, spend some, either summon a unit, do something with those points to bring it down closer to that 36 number so that when you do reset to 0, you're not getting punched in the face.
Yeah.
So, yeah, depravity is basically whereas, you kind of want to hoard blood tithes for the right moments. With depravity, I think you want to spend it like candy as long as you're maintaining the levels that you really want to be at.
Yeah.
So anyway, shall we go to quests?
Yeah, quests.
Can I do one?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to do the first one.
Okay.
Okay. So the first quest is In Pursuit of a God. At the end of each Path to Glory battle, add 1 quest point to the progress section of your quest log for each enemy unit on the battlefield that has an impulse dice beside it. Wait, what? But those go out like candy. Okay.
Yep.
Once you've gained 6 or more quest points, so after 1 game, you can fight a Path to Glory battle using the Chasing Whispers battle plan. If you win a major victory using that battle plan, you complete this quest. The rewards are listed in the battle plan. So now we flip to the battle plan real quick, and we look at the quest real quick. This one is rather simple. It is a quest battle plan. The armies are, of course, Hedonites of Slaanesh and some other guy, which is the Purger, who wants to purge. For the deployment is pretty standard deployment. First turn, the Purger, so the enemy always gets the first turn. You get prized victims once per turn at the start of the hero phase. The Hedonites of Slaanesh player can pick 1 enemy unit on the battlefield. If that enemy unit is destroyed in this turn, the Hedonite of Slaanesh player gains 3 depravity points. So they're basically headhunting. The gathering momentum rule for the scenario is once per turn in their hero phase, the Purger, i.e. the enemy, can pick 1 Hedonite of Slaanesh hero on the battlefield. If that hero is slain, the Purger can pick 1 other enemy Hedonites of Slaanesh hero on the battlefield, add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks that target that hero until the Purger's next hero phase. So basically that's going to wipe out the effects of their depravity levels.
Yep.
And then the rewards are quite simple. If the Hedonites of Slaanesh player wins a major victory, they complete the In Pursuit of a God quest. They gain 10 glory points and can make 2 exploration rolls in step 6 of the aftermath sequence instead of 1. Okay, it's a basically simple scenario. There's not a lot of twists and turns. This is not a scenario that you're going to have to beg someone to play with you.
Correct.
Because the good outweighs the bad, or is equal to the bad, and you're just literally going to play this game and try to win the scenario. It's not kind of like some of the quest scenarios we've seen where the reward is so over the top.
Yep.
That no one's going to want to play this with you, or the conditions are so messed up that no one's going to want to play.
Yeah.
This one, I'd play that with a Slaanesh player all day long. It just doesn't matter.
I mean, it had to be one of those kinds of maps where you're actually tempted to play them, right?
Right. All right, moving on.
Got him. All right. Quest, Miasma of Temptation and the Path to Glory battle. If you want a major victory, you complete this quest. When you complete this quest in the next Path to Glory battle, you fight against an opponent who's using Path to Glory. After deployment, roll a dice for each enemy unit on the battlefield. On a 4+, they gain an impulse dice. So you just start collecting that depravity right away.
Yeah.
Driven by obsession. At the end of the Path to Glory battle, you complete it if you won a major victory and at least 6 enemy units were destroyed in the battle. When you complete this quest in the next Path to Glory battle, you fight against an opponent who's doing Path to Glory. You can pick 2 obsessions of excess to give to the model being picked to be your general instead of 1.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Those obsessions of excess, those are the ones that we just talked about were so broken.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. I feel like the Driven by Obsession is going to be a popular one.
Yes.
Endless Depravity. At the end of the Path to Glory battle, you complete this quest if you want a major victory and you have 36 or more unspent depravity points.
Gee, there's a shocker.
When you complete this quest in the next Path to Glory battle, you fight against another Path to Glory. At the end of your first movement phase, you can summon 1 unit from the Summon Slaaneshi Demons table and add it to your army. The unit must be set up wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Hedonites Slaanesh hero and more than 9 inches from all enemy units.
Just anyone?
Just a free summon.
Just any keeper?
Just a free keeper.
Happen to have
just any keeper of secrets. Right. It says, it says you can summon 1 unit.
Yeah.
So it should read you can summon 1 keeper of secrets.
It should. It really should. Although, the thing is if you already are running a keeper heavy army, you actually might want to, bring in fiends or a blade bringer or a contorted epitome. I mean, there's no reason you wouldn't bring a keeper, but you might.
You can do it.
Might.
I guess if you want to have Shalaxi on the board instead of one of your other 3 keepers.
Instead of another keeper. Oh, God. Yeah. So those are the quests. And you know what? They're super on point. They're super themey. And they're not really, really stupid.
Yep.
I say that when, you're playing Path to Glory, you have to kind of understand that the games are not going to be balanced.
Yeah.
Path to Glory is not designed, around that competitive balance. Everybody has 2,000 and only 2,000 points except for the summoning armies. And usually for them to get more summon, stuff has to die.
Yep.
So it maintains a relative equilibrium. Now, in Path to Glory, you gotta know the silly stuff is gonna happen, and everybody has silly stuff in their Path to Glory. So it's all right. So where are we now? We are at veteran abilities.
Yeah. Noticeable thing from just the outset of the veteran abilities, they're not restricted by unit type.
I know.
Each one can be used by any Hedonites of Slaanesh unit.
Isn't that cool?
Oh, yeah. So, goading Hedonites, I'll start with the first one. Once per battle in the charge phase, pick an enemy unit within 6 inches, as an impulse dice beside it, and add 1 to the value.
Okay.
Keep tempting them to use the impulse.
It's super tempting.
Hey, you get 6 additional attacks, so you should probably do it.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes early game, it might be worth it to just, hey, I'm going to flip that to a 2, and now your little Stormcast, now they have 3 attacks each. Isn't that cool?
Well, the thing is, in it read, that it's once per battle they can use the impulse dice.
Yep.
Right? So you're trying to goad them into using it as quickly as possible, right?
Especially when it's at like 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
Because you're rolling to see what you get for renown or for depravity. So they could get.
No. You get depravity equal to it.
Oh, it's equal to?
Yeah.
I thought you rolled.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Even better still. So
you want to crank one of them up to a 6, have them like go and blast something down. You're like, cool, you killed my keeper, but I just got all this depravity, so I'm going to summon it back. And now they can't do it anymore, so you just stack impulse dice, right? And then the name of the game from there is just killing as many units as possible
You betcha.
to make sure that they don't get the additional renown, right?
Yep.
You want to take the next one?
Sure. Next veteran ability is Exquisite Dexterity. This unit can use this veteran ability once per battle at the start of the combat phase. Subtract 1 from hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks that target this unit until the end of the phase. Not bad if you're in a bad spot, especially if you haven't built your depravity up to the point to where you're getting betterer. Yeah, that's a good one. I can see that going on.
The big thing there is the subtracting 1 from the wound roll. That's a huge defensive buff.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Very few things affect wound rolls these days, and that's a big one.
Yep. Next one, Scholars of the Perfect Strike. Uses veteran ability once per battle at the start of the combat phase. Keep track of the number of unmodified hit rolls of 6 for attacks made by this unit in that phase. At the end of that phase, you gain a number of depravity points equal to the total. So, brick of 30 demonettes.
Oh, my God.
Right? Just shred into something.
Wait, what? Oh, my God. Keep track of the number of unmodified. Oh, my God. You could get your 36 in one turn.
It's possible.
Oh,
hold on. Let's get the demonettes up, right? So, demonettes, just kind of jumping ahead to them because you're a basic unit.
Sure.
They're the ones you probably can really do a lot with this.
Yeah.
Base 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, -1, 1 damage. The Allure, the leader of the unit, has 1 additional attack.
Oh, God.
Oh, you can reroll failed battle shock. I didn't read that part earlier. And then you get the banner bearer or the icon bearer. The icon bearer gets you a rally of a 5-up, so that's probably the one you take.
It's definitely.
I mean, adding 1 to run in charge with the banner bearer is pretty good, but I think that's a legit decision you have to make. What are you doing with your demonettes?
Yeah.
You only have a 5-up save, 1 wound,
Yep.
You got 30 of them, right? So there's 1 Allurus, right? But then you get 61 attacks.
Yeah.
Right? So you're getting on average 10 depravity if you activate that ability.
Wow.
Just on average. And that's probably the unit that you also say, like, any damage they do becomes depravity, euphoric killers.
Yep.
So
I'm just thinking that, a unit of 30. I know the average is 10, but any kind of a spike at all in that roll, 15, 20, that's huge. That's a really good veteran ability. Very situational, but very good.
One of the things with Hedonites, just get ready for the bookkeeping because it's going to be a lot of where's my depravity at, up, down, all around.
And that's the thing is you're going to need probably like the dice that you're going to roll.
Yeah.
So the expensive GW dice, and then go buy like 3 sets of the Chessex small dice because you're going to need a bunch of other dice to be marking enemy units in your units with these different dice that you have to keep track of. So don't use GW dice for that. That's way expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll get very confusing.
They will.
All right. So next up is Executioners of the Dark Prince. This unit can use this veteran ability once per battle at the end of the charge phase. Pick 1 enemy unit within 6 inches of this unit that has an impulse die beside it. That unit suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the value of the die. Wait, what? So now there's a downside to this? Oh my God. Yeah, so be careful if you're sitting on those 6s, because he could pop you down dead.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're dead, you'll get nowhere now.
Yeah. Locus of Diversion. Veteran ability, once per battle start of the combat phase, pick one enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit and roll a dice on a 3+. The strike last effect applies to them. So the old Locus of Diversion
Yeah.
that you had, that used to be the Scourge when it was on
Yes.
a 2-up when you had a Keeper of Secrets, and it's just like, yeah, you fight last like every turn.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it was a given.
Brutal.
Yeah, it was just a given.
It was brutal.
And the last veteran ability is Painbringer Impulses. This unit can use the veteran ability once per battle at the end of your charge phase. Strike first effect applies to this unit in the following combat phase. So flip-flop. So very, again, these veteran abilities are not bonkers.
No.
But they're very situational and very fun, actually, if you ask me. That one, the Executioners of the Dark Brand, where, 6 mortal wounds. And, I mean, that's literally most Stormcast heroes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of foot heroes.
Yep.
Just wiped out.
Yep.
And you get penalties for holding on to that die and thinking to yourself, well, screw him. I'll just save these dice and I'll just get all this renown. Right. Yeah.
Snap your fingers.
Snap
dead.
Yeah. All right. You want to go over territories?
Yeah, they're pretty simple. There's only 3 territories.
Yeah. Very, very simple.
Yeah. 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66. So the first one is Orchard of Flayed Skin. It cannot be upgraded. In step 7 of the Aftermath sequence, for each enemy unit destroyed in the battle, you can recuperate 1 unit of your order without spending any glory. Real good.
It's so very, very Slaanesh-y.
Yep.
For everything you kill, you get you get to help you.
Yep.
I love it. Next.
Hidden House of Hidden Vices. This is your 63, 64. Reduce the glory point cost of adding and reinforcing Hedonites units by 1 to a minimum of 1. You upgrade for 15 GP. It becomes the Cult of Perversion. Reduce the glory points cost by 3 instead of 1.
Across the board.
Across the board.
That's a really good territory to have. That one's going to save you so much in the long run.
Yep. And the next one is, so spicy. Ancient Elven Temple. When fighting a Path to Glory battle against an opponent who is using a Path to Glory army, you start the battle with D3 depravity points.
Oh my God.
But you upgrade for 20 GP, it becomes a profane statue of Slaanesh. And instead, when you're doing a Path to Glory battle, you start with 2 D3 depravity.
I don't think that's nearly enough for the boss territory.
Yeah.
Literally a D3 or 2D3? Nah, why don't you make that a 6 or a 12?
Yeah.
Or just something that meaningful. At this point, I don't want that territory over the other 2. And it's supposed to be the ultimate.
Well,
I mean, D3 depravity, you're literally looking at getting that basically on a whim in the first combat phase.
Yep.
So that's not handy.
I think all of them, it's the whole theme of this that we've seen, right? Like, it's all decent, right? But it's not hugely powerful.
Right.
And again, it's sort of like Daughters of Cain and all that stuff, where like the army itself has some inherent strengths.
Right.
And they don't want to give them too much in Path to Glory to let them run away with it,
Sure.
Because if they had something where it's like, 6 or 12 depravity to start out, are you kidding me? You start at the first tier of the table just for showing up, like that's scary. That's scary.
It could be, but I don't know.
But I'm with you. I mean, Orchard of Flayed Ones and House of Hidden Vices. You're gonna have units that get destroyed, right?
Yep.
Your base troop demonettes are 5-up saves, for goodness sake.
I mean, they're gonna get beat to duties.
Yep.
So.
They do other natural heroic upgrades. It's all Vice Leader Heralds of Slaanesh that change into either Infernal Rapturous or the different types of chariots.
Yep.
Right? Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. If you're like, man, I really want to build a literal bladed chariot and bleed all over the place, then feel free, my friends, to do it. I built 2 of them now. I did the Exalted Chariot and the Hellflayer. Dear God. Like,
Not fun.
Not fun at all. Just other stuff, like within the book. Sigvald's still insane.
Yeah.
It's just really cool. I was going to take a look at the Fane of Slaanesh real quick, because I think this one lets you... Yeah, so it's not written directly into the rules for summoning demons, but the Fane of Slaanesh states on its war scroll, you can summon demons near it, right? So it's not just your heroes, because a lot of times your heroes are going to be stuck in.
Right.
Because you want them to be fighting. And so the Fane of Slaanesh still lets you summon near it.
Very handy.
So a lot of stuff. Go watch or read the other reviews on the book so you can understand the units themselves and what they do.
Competitive stuff, yeah.
How powerful they are. I mean, keepers are still keepers. You know, they still have their ridiculous, delicate precision ability where unmodified hit rolls of 6 are just mortals, straight mortals.
Straight up.
Right, from what you do. And so, you have your claws that do 5 damage to start. Whew.
Yeah, killer.
Nasty. Very scary.
It's a good army. Again, it's another one of those glass cannon armies. You have to be careful.
Yep.
You can get stuff wiped out. However, I think there's enough in the book that gives you the ability to stay in the game.
Yep. Oh, it's spicy.
So what do you give it grade
spicy.
wise?
I give it an A.
Yeah.
Yeah. I give it an A.
I had to think this is definitely a book that across the board is really solid.
Yeah. I might go a little A- on the bookkeeping part of it. I don't think that's necessarily new player friendly.
No.
That's the only downside. But anyone who's into the shtick of this, right? Who just loves, when you're playing this army, you are going to just have fun if it's the army you like, right?
Yes.
It's just going to be so fun tempting people with dice, right? Getting the depravity and having that calculation of whether I spend it or not, right? It's just going to be this, you'll just luxuriate in the choice, right? I think it's going to be real fun to see top players with it. Because I bet you watching it be played is going to also be in its own way entertaining and theming.
Yeah.
But this encapsulates it just feels like Slaanesh every page I'm looking at, all the way through.
And I think what's really nice about this version of Slaanesh is up till now, depravity has been a mechanic that only worked for the Slaaneshi player, and it was only fun for them. Yeah. And it was literally onerous for the other person.
Yep.
Because depending on the army you brought, you could quite literally have just, Sons of Behemoth, monster trucks, you name it. You're just basically handing them a new army to play with every other turn.
Yep.
As they just add units like crazy. And it became a very unfun game.
Uh-huh.
And now I think with very few exceptions, most of this is totally interactive. Yes, I have done this to you. Now you decide how you want to deal with it. Do you want to use it? Do you want to give me? Do you want to hold on to it and take chances? Yep. I love that interactivity now where I don't feel like it's just this is being done to me and I have no choice. I've always hated that. And now that's gone, and it's really quite a lot of fun now to make those decisions. Oh, Jesus, if I could get these 4 more attacks, that'd be so huge. But do I just want to hand you and get you across that 36 because you're at 33?
Yep.
I don't want it. I can't do it.
Yep.
I can't give that to you. So, yeah, I think that's a lot of fun. There's a lot of back and forth.
I agree. I think it's a really well done book. Points wise, things don't look too bad.
I think everything in this book needs to go up 30 points, but
Glutos is the most expensive at 480. I think it was over 500 before. Then you have Keepers at 400, Salaxi at 420, and then your foot heroes are in the 120 to 140 range, except for Sigvald's 205, and that's not bad for what he does.
No, not really.
Selesky is 270. I'm sorry, Selesky's
Siness
215.
is 270.
Yeah, Siness is 270. Mask at 140. Points look pretty all right. Blissbarb Archers. I don't see him. 1 second.
Blissbarb Seekers?
Archers, 150 for 11. All right, that's getting a little better. I'd like to see them a little bit lower because they weren't super powerful before. They're not freaking Sentinels.
Yeah.
Right? That always got me about them,
That's the whole thing is they were priced the same as the Stormcast and the Sentinels, and they were just markedly worse.
Yep.
I'm very impressed with the book. I think if you've been playing it, you're going to keep playing it.
Yeah.
So nowadays, the Blissbarb bow has an 18-inch range, 2 attacks, 3s and 4s, rend 1, damage 1. That puts them in the realm of some of the other archers.
Yeah.
So, of course, their melee weapons are not the best, but that's not what they do. 1 in every 11 can be a Blissbrew Homunculus. Blissbrew Homunculus is armed with a Sybrite blade. Add 1 to the wound rolls made with missile weapons by this unit while it includes this guy. So you're adding 1 to wound rolls for this guy just because he's alive.
Yep.
That makes you hitting on 3s and 3s. That's very good.
It is. It's really good.
And you can run and shoot. Blissbarb Archers got good. They got good.
Yeah, they don't have the exploding hits anymore, which makes me feel like they should definitely be down around like 130, 140.
Yeah, but they're still hitting 3s and 3s with Rend. So
Yeah, but it's only 2 attacks each. It's not a lot. I mean, they can run and shoot, which
still,
is good.
it's 22 attacks. I'm digging it.
Oh, not that I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, they are not the joke that they were
Yeah.
in the last book. So, yeah,
Oh,
I'd say
it's-
good book. Very
Good
good book.
I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm tempted to play, so to speak.
And, overall, the aesthetic of the army has gone from quite literally just the naked girls up front to just the aesthetic now is truly distorted, twisted, excessive, and it really works.
Yeah.
It really, really works. I think, between Daughters of Cain and this Slaanesh, I think these were the two problem children
Yeah.
for the over-sexualization that, by and large, GW games have not really had a problem with.
Yeah.
But this is pretty much the finale on that over-sexualization of everything. And now it's just, these are some very cool models to build and paint and look at, and the modifications, the kit bashing, the conversions are just so cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, a book.
Big fan of Slaanesh for a long time, and I broke my heart with the last book when they dropped so terribly. And I was like, I don't want to play an army where like I lose by winning if I'm not playing Beasts of Chaos, because that's what it feels like Beasts of Chaos should do. Like, these girls feel like they should run up the board and slice and dice, even if you're dying in response, right? But they should be super fast, attacking first, having all kinds of tricks, and that's what they're doing for them now. Super happy with it.
And you can flex into different builds. You can flex into making them really, really tough.
Yep.
And hanging around and giving up, the summoning, a lot of the summoning. Or you can build it to where, hey, these are minimum size units and I am throwing them at you for the depravity and for all these, all the fun parts of Slaanesh.
Yeah.
Then just resummoning them back in and having that kind of rotating milieu, if you will. There's so many different ways to play this book now, whereas literally before, I think there was a couple of builds in that book that worked, and everything else was junk. Everything else was just literally unplayable in a competitive game. Now, in the narrative world, I've seen so much more Slaanesh because they are literally fun, and depravity works real well when you're not playing someone who's wrapped around the axle.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way about tournament players, but quite literally, that depravity mechanic sucked against some armies and was useless against others.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think it's a good fix. It's really well thought out, super thematic. This is, like you said, the most themed book yet. It hits all the right notes.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I'm really excited to see what it does, in competitive stuff too, but, if someone really gets a handle on it and using it in a Path to Glory campaign, it'd be real fun to watch, just as they just mess with other players.
I just love the interactivity now.
Yeah.
That's what was completely absent.
Right.
And is now, I don't dread the idea of playing a Slaanesh army because I know, yes, you're going to be doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
However, I also have choices to make to whether or not you get to do your cool stuff.
Yep.
As much as you want to.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Shall we call it? Because we've got 2 books coming out on Saturday.
Oh,
we got to figure out which one to do first and which one to do second. We'll discuss it offline. It's going to be, the next 2 shows are super easy because we're going to be doing Path to Glory.
It's going to be super stacked. I think it's going to be a lot of fun going through those books. Seeing the changes, I'm definitely going to leave OBR in your capable hands, Bill. I'm going to say that right now.
I hear you. Yeah.
Because I know next to nothing about the army in terms of how it actually works.
I will leave Soulblight to you.
Good. I'll have my lovely Russian axe-wielding psychopath
Nice.
to talk about. Ivia
All right.
Volga. We'll figure out which one to do next time. You'll find out maybe when we do. Hey, if you're here and a member of Patreon, stay tuned because it's a very Slaanesh-y After Dark.
The music in the show is used courtesy of Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com and is used under the Creative Commons license. The Rolling Bad podcast itself is protected under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. Information for this license can be found at creativecommons.org.